Finally! After over a dozen episodes, the second pair to be introduced into this show finally gets their champion form. Angaramon has turned into, in pure Digimon fashion, a giant fucking furry. And it's glorious. Welcome everybody to this week's Digimon Ghost Game, where we got Angaramon's first Digivolution, which I am very happy to finally get. And of course, naturally, with such a big plot moment, one can assume others will follow in this episode. Maybe something will tie into the main plot, or we'll get a lot more world building, or we'll finally start getting some answers to some of the questions we have, right? Right? Well, at least we got Angaramon's champion form. Alright, so before we get into this, I should probably give kind of like a little bit of an explanation as to what I kind of think about when I'm watching shows. You see, I love to think about how all the individual cogs come together to make an episode of television, whether it's plot, character, dialogue, animation, story. All of these things coming together to give us a viewing experience that makes us want to come back from whether it's week to week or night to night or try and do it all in one big binge. These are the things that I appreciate. And so in that respect, this episode of Digimon Ghost Game is kind of a goddamn fucking nightmare, which we are going to explain. So, as always, the episode begins with our OP. We get what I can only assume at this point is there just to, like, eat up screen time, and that is the stupid explanation about hologram ghosts. I'd like to point this out for a minute. They put a big emphasis on this concept. It has nothing to do with anything that happens. Most of the Digimon are invisible, and when they do show up, they just scare everyone anyways. So what's the point? Or better yet, make it that, and then at the end of the explanation, he goes, we call them Digimon, not hologram ghosts. At least do a fun new explanation for why they're called Digimon. But I'm digressing. So, as with every episode of Ghost Game, we begin with our inciting incident. The theme for this week is there's a fortune teller, where when women go to them, the fortune teller proceeds to do something to torture and scare them, and then turn them into a statue. As always, this is entertainingly creepy, probably a bit more on the scary side for kids, but I think that is fun and what makes it entertaining. Then, Ruli and her two interchangeable friends are just like, oh, we want to meet the fortune teller. And then we get this very strange bit where the black-haired one wants her fortune told for reasons. And they really linger on this for like a minute, and it's just never gone into, or a plot point, or delved into. It just is a thing said to waste time, because most of the scenes in this episode are just based around wasting time. So then they start the process of looking for the fortune teller, which it's cool how Ruli does that. But yeah, no, that's the big shtick. Meanwhile, Jellymon finds one of the statues and somehow finds out it was a human. How does this work? Like, is the human just like encased in it like a cocoon, or is it something like Dr. Stone where they're still like conscious underneath and they're just screaming for help? Like, does Jellymon like stick its tentacle into the woman's brain and just like gives her brain damage or some shit? What's going on here? How does she analyze it? What is this? So then Hiro and the other one go to investigate. They don't tell Ruli because the plot says so. And while they're doing this, we get more wasting time with the one guy freaking out at a statue in a store because we're just wasting time at this point. Most of the scenes in this episode go on way too long, I should mention. They find the fortune teller. And then it looks like things are going to pick up. Ruli talks to Angaramon, and she sneaks in. She, of course, sees a woman get turned into a statue. And then the girl goes in, and she sees Ruli being held hostage. And then Angaramon hotwires a forklift and attacks the tent. That was pretty cool. And then we start the fighting, and the shtick is that Ruli is afraid to do the thing where they go to the digital world because she doesn't know how to explain to her friends what Angaramon is. I'd argue you have more important things to worry about. But then she just does it anyways. And as we established with the bird guy, the two friends just don't go. So what was the fucking point to that? So yeah, so then the fight continues, and it happens. Angeromon fucking digivolves, and it looks cool, and I like that we established that this form is just better at fighting, which is neat, and then it's all completely ruined, because the big climax of the fight is a giant tornado attack, and then the other two show up, and they digivolve, and then we get a bigger tornado attack, and the guy just fucking leaves and just frees everyone for no fucking reason, giving us another unsatisfying ending to a fight. Alright, so here's the thing. This is very important here. And, I don't want to see this guy again! I don't fucking care! I don't care about him, I don't care about the vegetable Digimon, I don't care! I don't want to see him again, which means he's just getting off scot-free. He was torturing people. We don't know what he's going to do next. Why does no one do anything about this? He just goes off where he'll come back if the writers remember him. Like, that's what that is. So yeah, he's gone. And then we go back to the two friends, where we find out that they were, because they didn't go, they just saw Ruli disappear. They're just like, oh, good work deterring their attention so we could run. That's it! All the threat, any potential plot relevance to all of this is just completely written out like it's nothing. It's total bullshit. And then on the train, you find out that the two friends know Ruli is keeping secrets, but they'll wait till she's ready. Motherfuckers, you are being multiple times attacked by weird monsters that have no explanation and no one is doing anything about. Did you think of that for 5 seconds? Shouldn't they be mad that their friend is keeping secrets? She clearly knows something. Shouldn't they have any reaction at all? And the reason this is important is because I'm just waiting for some kind of through line in this show. Just something. Like something that is building every episode. A mystery, character development, anything. Every episode is just a one-off adventure. I compared this to Aptly Monsters last week. Aptly Monsters at least built on the characters, and you felt like their arcs were going somewhere. Everyone is just whatever they are, every episode, and that's it. At least if the two friends were maybe like annoyed that Ruli's keeping secrets, or maybe she just tells them. Maybe they just see Angeromon fight and they're part of the plot. They don't have to be around a lot, but just something that gives me a feeling that like episodes are developing and things are in motion. Everything is just square one every episode. Like I remember in season 3 when all the other friends found out about Guillaumon. Yeah, it wasn't a huge deal. They just liked playing with him and all that, but it at least felt like there was progression. Something was different from one episode to the next. And more importantly, it was then interwoven into the plot. The way the kids accepted the Digimon and wanted to be friends with them, where the adults only saw them as monsters and destruction. It's a good contrast. Season 3 gets built up a lot, but it does have a lot of the same pacing and just overall plot execution problems that all Digimon seasons have, which is just kind of an effect of having to be such a long show. But the difference there was that because we kept doing these little things, like character arcs and new people coming in and out of the story, it kept things fresh. But here, every episode is just the same episode over and over again, and there's no consequences or really even a lot of times good resolution. At least when like Jellymon digivolved, you felt like there was some sort of like better relationship or that the two characters had gone through an arc together. But here it's like the time to digivolve Angeromon was during the Repamon fight. Nothing new is learned about the two. They don't grow as people in this episode. At least if Ruli had to like tell the truth about what's going on to the friends and then maybe had to stand beside Angeromon, it would be something more than just what it is. Make it this is how she proves she is mature to him, when she stands beside him in adversity. That could be interesting, but just nothing was interesting here and nothing's going anywhere. And you could say, oh, well, why is that a problem? Because at least this show is entertaining. Well, at that point, we're just every other kid's anime franchise right now, and people like Digimon because it's a little bit more than that. So yeah, that was this episode of Digimon Ghost Game. I'm sorry I got angry. I don't want to rant. I genuinely do enjoy the show despite its shortcomings, but it is starting to become like more and more of a problem every week. We're not going anywhere, as it almost feels like the writers keep putting them in situations where they want to go somewhere and then just don't. But yeah, no, that was just my thoughts. Tell me what you think about this episode below. If it worked for you, that's fine. I'm sorry it just didn't work for me. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week where hopefully we get a little